welcome back to the channel. Today I have, oh boy, do I have a theory and analysis video for you guys. We are starting off with the teaser trailer that Don't Nod released a few weeks ago, and it gives us a little bit of a different bird's eye view of what happens in the actual gameplay of Life is Strange 2 before we see it happening. All right, we see the cop getting out of the car, we hear a scuffle, we hear fighting going on, we see the wind blow like a hurricane and knocks the police officer, the car, over. That's all we see. We hear it's a disturbance, there's some sort of fight going on, which we now know what exactly transpired on that day. Now, the first thing that we know that happened was already discussed in the prequel to Life is Strange 2, Captain Spirit. And in Captain Spirit, we find a collectible or something we can interact with on the kitchen table. Is a newspaper article about what happened here in the teaser. Our main protagonists, Daniel and Sean, the two boys, seen here, this is what happens to them. The article on the kitchen table states that more protests and shooting death. Seattle. Small riots and protests have continued to mount 1 month after the unexplained deaths of a local man and police officer. An official statement from the police has not been released, but sources say the man appeared to have been shot by the officer while the father's cause of death remains unknown. The Seattle Police Department have been accused by civil rights groups of mishandling the incident, which led to the public protests and rioting. Okay, so before I go into the whole tearing apart of the trailer, the teaser trailer, and the gameplay, we're going to backtrack a little bit and talk about Captain Spirit, but we will get to everything in the gameplay videos. So we know that Daniel and Sean show up at the end of Captain Spirit. They see Chris. First we see Daniel, and then we see Sean, and Daniel waves to him, Sean waves to him, they see that he floated down from the top of the treehouse, and he survives. So now when they see he survives, they just like waving at him, they see him, they're alone, they're outside, they're wearing coats, it's winter time. How this all fits in to the Captain Spirit timeline. Chris is alive, and the boys are fine. I don't know if this is going to have to do with, in the article, in the newspaper clipping, this says that it takes place like a month before the shooting that happened, which was Daniel's and Sean's father. So what are they doing back at the house? Like nothing happened, and they look well, they're well dressed, they look healthy, they're wearing coat, they're wearing gloves, they don't look like they're on the run, which is how we left them at the end of the gameplay in the 20-minute gameplay that Don't Nod released at Gamescom. So they're back home within this 1 month of the father being shot and murdered, and everything is resolved. I'm having a hard time figuring out how this all ties in, because that would be like a huge spoiler. So if it is a huge spoiler for the ending or the story for Life is Strange Season 2, why did they put that in there? Why did they put the boys there? So we know that they're well and they're back home where they belonged, and everything seems fine. It just doesn't make any sense. And at the end of Captain Spirit, they tell us that Chris will rejoin us in Life is Strange Season 2. So he's not dead, or will they be going back into the past? I don't know where they're going to be taking the story, but this is a huge question that I have. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm a little bit obsessed with the fact that within 1 month, it's all resolved. They're back home. They look well dressed, well fed. They look healthy. They don't look like they've been on the run, and everything's resolved. So that would be like a huge spoiler. So I'm not sure. I know we could rewind time in Life is Strange Part 1, but I don't think that this is the powers that are reflected here in Season 2. I don't think there's any time rewind that's said. That's all done. That was in Season 1. Season 2 is about the power that one of them have, the power that is being represented here. Okay, so let's look at the teaser trailer they released a few weeks ago. Now, the first thing I noticed is, why is the screen shot like this? It looks like a picture. It looks like the opposite of a letterbox format. It's not a widescreen full shot. It's not letterbox. It's like a vertical letterbox. Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm talking about? And it just, it struck me as very strange, no pun intended, that it was more like a picture frame. The setting was meant to show us something completely different, like something out of a photo album, instead of the typical full screen or the letterbox. I think this is very important to the story they're going to tell. This is just very unusual. This is just very unusual that they would have like a sideways letterbox setup. So I think there's something to that, but I'm not sure how it fits in with the story. I mean, is this a symbolic way of showing how the car flipped? The police car flipped on its side. There was the explosion and we didn't know what happened. I mean, it could be that this whole world is just flipped on its side now that the powers have been unleashed in this instance, in this setting. So I think it has to do with everything flipped around, everything flipped over, everything turned upside down, sideways, but could just be a metaphor, or it could just be that this is the aesthetic that they were going for this trailer. But you know me, I am using my superpowers of deduction. Just when I saw that, it just really stuck out to me. Most people probably didn't even notice it. I thought it was very strange. Okay, so let's go through this teaser trailer first, then we'll go through the actual trailer, and then we'll go through the gameplay, and I will break it down for all of y'all, what I saw and what I noticed. And there's a lot, believe it or not. Okay, so first we open up, we have this like weird sideways letterbox. We see what happened in the teaser trailer. We see that the car is flipped over, and we see the wave of dust that comes past before the car flips. We see Daniel, we see Sean. They're on their way to Mexico. This is where they're running away to. This is where their family came from. Now look on Daniel's hand. It looks like he has something written on his hand, a reminder. We find out later on in the trailer what it actually says on his hand. But if you remember in Before the Storm, she also writes on her hand to remind her what she has to do. All right, once we see the overlay come over, it looks like you see a bright light coming through the black and white overlay. It looks like smoke almost. It looks like wind. Here we see a picture of a bear, trout spring. Now there's always animals within the universe of Life is Strange. Everyone seems to have their own spirit animal. We have Chloe, Max, and Rachel. We have, you know, the butterfly, the raven, and the deer. And here we have the overlay again with the light behind it, the glowing golden light. Okay, here we have the picture of math teacher, the Eggman, Lila's best face. And I don't know who drew, I'm assuming that Sean drew that. Okay, then we come back. They're howling. He's wearing a bear shirt. There's a bear logo on his shirt, and it says squad. I thought to myself, why not wolf pack, you know, instead of wolf squad? They're baying at the moon, and then he digs into his backpack, and he finds the article, which reads, shooting in South Seattle. A police officer was found dead next to the body of Esteban Diaz, 45, who was apparently shot by said officer. The only witness, a teenager, was knocked unconscious during the incident and remains in the hospital. The details of the case are not clear, while Diaz's two sons, Sean, 17, and Daniel, 9, are both wanted for questioning. That's all I can read on that. So he has cut out the article about them, what happened to the father, and he is scared. They're on the run. They're on the way to Mexico. Okay, so after that, you hear the ringing sound, and then we flash back to the teaser trailer where with the confrontation with the police officer and the aftermath of the event. We see the boys running off. We see the chaos, the aftermath, but we know now that that is Daniel's scream that unleashes the wind and the chaos and all of the destruction that follows. Walking off into the sunset, and now the logo, the stitching, the needle, the thread is one of the main themes of this season. We see the needle and thread at the end of the teaser trailer sewing the lone thread. I'll talk more about that. So we open up with the actual gameplay that they released at Gamescom, and we see Sean. He gets off the bus. He's wearing the wolf symbol on his shirt, which is heavily implied that this is going to be his spirit animal. And he's wearing a red beanie. Like Chloe, he's wearing a beanie, except his is red, but his also has a W on the side of it. W for wolf. Are we seeing just more clues for his character and his spirit animal? Like I said before, I thought it was interesting why they didn't put a pack over the word pack over the wolf, you know, like wolf pack, wolf's Wolf Squad just doesn't make any sense to me. But it's cute that she said squad. It's like a little cute little joke, I guess. We walk with Lila and we pass the kid who we get into the confrontation with. Why is he on the front steps? Why is he home? Did he get kicked out of school? Is he homeschooled? Did he cut class that day? He looks like he's the same age as Sean and Lila. Why wasn't he on the bus too? Then we see all the Halloween decorations, and then there's this skull in the basketball hoop. I mean, I know it's Halloween here, but damn, this was ominous. Could this be a reference to the Day of the Dead, Dios de los Muertos? Okay, so we go into the house. We're looking around the house. The first thing I notice is that they have a swear jar like Chloe's house did when the dad was alive and they were saving up money. And they have a swear jar too. And when I saw this again, I'm like, oh my God, this is the same thing they had in both their houses. And is it a bad omen? Is the swear jar a bad omen for dads in this game? Because it did not work out too well for Chloe's dad, and it didn't work out too well for the boy's dad. Just another nod to the connections between the first season and the second season. There are a lot of Easter eggs that connect season 1 to season 2. Just for a quick reference, in Captain Spirit, there is a book that is written by Mark Jefferson, the psychotic teacher who drugged everybody and killed Rachel. There's a thread to him here, a thread. These are the connecting things. We're going to get to the thread later. But for now, put a pin in that. Put the needle in that thread, and we'll come back to that point. And there is the connection between Captain Spirit's mom, went to Blackwell Academy. I did a little digging for the receipts to see what the connections were, because I am not that familiar with Captain Spirit. Okay, so now this I thought was very interesting. So not only do we go in and we get in to talk to the dad, we're talking to him about the party. He's talking about him, and he says, maybe he'll go back to Mexico. Maybe he'll go work with El Lobos.
Of course I am. We're doing great. Maybe one day when I retire, I'll go back to Mexico, to Puerto Lobos.
The Lobos. Now, I know the word Lobos, what it means in Spanish means wolf, but I said, let me just double check. I double checked. Wolf. Another reference to wolf, to wolves in this game. It's already heavily referenced from the get, and we are only in the gameplay and the trailers. It also looks like behind the father's head in the background, it looks like a religious picture, a religious reference maybe of Mary. It looks like the halo around her head above the doorway. So there might be some religious references going on here as well. And as he's walking out the door, you notice there's a mural on the wall. It's an octopus holding a wrench and a screwdriver and other tools that I am not familiar with. It looks like little drawings over that they might have done when they were younger. Then we have the needle and thread image again. This is our save icon. Now, I'm just going to touch on it quickly now, because at the end of the video, they show thread, and I believe that this symbolism of the needle and thread is going to be the thread that connects Season 1, Captain Spirit, and Season 2 all together. We might not find out to the end. It might have to be a stitch in time, stitching, bringing together. At the end of the video, we see the lone thread being sewn into the backpack. The thread is symbolic. It connects and interweaves into the object to keep it together. It becomes an integral part of it, of the actual fabric. This is what's going to be the symbolism for the entire game, I feel. There's going to be a connecting thread, something that interweaves the stories and connects them and becomes part of them. I think it's very interesting that they use the needle and thread, and I'm so excited to see where they're going to go with this. On the fridge, it kind of looks like there's like a superhero magnet pointing. I can't make it out. It's very blurry. But maybe that's like a reference to Captain Spirit and the superheroes that he likes. Now on Daniel's door, he has a picture that he drew. It's called the Bear's Lair. Is the bear his spirit animal, his animal connection? Okay, there's a new message from Derek. Who's Derek? Is at the party he's going to? Is at the person's party they're going to, supposed to go to, that they were getting ready for? Okay, there are more than a few space references here. Daniel's shirt and the picture he drew outside of his room are both of like rocket ships, and then there is a rocket ship in Sean's room on the bookshelf. Lila asks him if he has everything on his hand list. We will see it at the end for a split second later on. I will point it out to you when we get there, just like Chloe had in Before the Storm. Okay, this has absolutely nothing to do with the analysis and the theory, but there's a set of numbers on the door next to the door, 80085. It spells boobs. Boobs. But I digress. Back to the analysis. It also, on the back of the door, it says SAMO on the back of the door. I don't know what that means. It could be a friend. Here is what it looks like on a separate dialogue choice. So there's a red bubble like dialogue choice. He's running out of time to answer the question, is this like Chloe's talkback mechanic? It just reminded me of Chloe's backtalk mechanic, her like superpower. Okay, now he hears the commotion outside. He goes outside, and right before he hits, now him and Brett are getting into it. And right before Brett calls out his mama, right before he turns around to punch his lights out, the camera angle turns sideways, almost like the view from the dash cam does in the teaser. Something definitely changes here right before he hits him. Something changes with that spin. Our view doesn't go from right to left or side to side to follow his fist. It spins. This might mean that Sean has some powers as well. It just seemed only as his anger got the better of him and he hauled off to punch Brett's lights out, and it spins. It seems like his whole world goes sideways. So I wonder if that's also a connection, if he has any kind of powers as well. It could be that he gets a little spun around, like he loses it a little bit. Okay, now the police officer pulls up. He sees Brett knocked the fuck out on the floor. Instead of just saying this is two kids having a fight, he pulls out his gun. The father comes out. What's happening? He makes the kids get on the ground. And instead of calling an ambulance, he pulls out a gun. But as soon as the officer winds up shooting the father, and as soon as the father is shot, Daniel screams, and there's an instant whirlwind or a wave, like a time warp or whooshing in the environment. And you can see it in this picture here. It's as if everything is blurred, everything is like blown away in like a dust storm or a sandstorm. Daniel definitely has the power. It's reminiscent of Rachel Amber's powers in Before the Storm. And this is what transpires right out of our sight from the dash cam video. We see the strong wind, and it is so powerful it comes flying out and it flips over the police car. We see the cop go flying into the air. Everything goes black, and then we see the devastation. The house is busted up. The rest of the street in the neighborhood is in absolute shambles. It looks like the poles and the power lines are downed, a fire hydrant is spewing water, and a car is on fire. This was an extremely powerful event. We see his list here of the things he needed to bring to the party. This is where we see the list. We see the cop car flipped over. We know Brett survives, even though we can't focus on him long enough to see if he's breathing still. But we know from the article that he does survive. He was just unconscious. One other thing I want to mention that I absolutely adored about this gameplay, beside the fact that it was just stunning, visually stunning, and the environment, I just love being in the universe of Life is Strange. I just think it's very comforting, and I love the aesthetic, and I love the music, and I love everything about being in this universe. But Don't Nod did an incredible job with the expressions and the way the characters emote their feelings. It's simply stunning. Like it's so hard to get the facial expressions so on point. They did an incredible job with the face animations. I mean, brilliant. You feel the hurt and the pain and the sadness in their eyes. It's stunning. So that was my favorite part of this trailer. And then here's where we see the lone thread being sewn into the backpack. And I went over that symbolism earlier. It is shown as the game's save icon. That is definitely going to be a main theme of this game. What do you think, guys? Okay, I'm sure there is more that is in here, but I went over this with a fine-tooth comb. You guys know I go through it. These 3 videos is the only content that we have for this game, aside from Captain Spirit. But like I said, to reiterate my point from the beginning, is like, how is this possible? How is this possible that within a month's time from Halloween, 3 days before Halloween on October 28th, they're getting ready for Halloween. This all transpires a month later. We're with Captain Spirit, and he sees the article on his kitchen table saying that for the past month, there have been riots going on. And we also know it's about a month because it is Christmas time. He's going to put his Christmas tree up. It's time to decorate for Christmas. It is winter outside. There is Christmas decorations when the boys come outside to greet Chris. I haven't gone into anyone's theory videos about this at all. First of all, I wasn't even that interested in Captain Spirit, to be quite honest, so I didn't dive too deep into it. But to do this, I watched the whole thing. So we see how the boys are there. They look healthy. Their clothes aren't in tatters. They look well. They look well fed. Their clothes are clean. They look neat and healthy, and they don't look like they've been on the run. So how long are they on the run to Mexico for in the timeline on October 28th before they're a month later or right before Christmas back at home? Okay, so it seems like a little bit of a spoiler, and we know that Chris survives because they mentioned that he will be showing up in Life is Strange too. So, I mean, the only logical thing is to assume that Chris survives, we meet up with him, maybe he's the one maybe he also has powers. I'm not sure if he saved himself or it was Daniel that saved him from being killed, from falling from the ratchet-ass treehouse that he built. I don't know. What do you guys think? What are your theories? What do you think about the animals that are represented in this season compared to the first season? And do you think that we will see more Easter eggs from Life is Strange Part 1? Do you think we'll hear anything about Rachel and Chloe and Max, considering that there is the connections between all 3 of the installments? I'm so excited to find out. I cannot wait to play this. I'm so excited. And if there's anything else that comes out, guys, I will do more analysis and I will do more breakdowns for you guys. But leave me any of your questions and comments. What do you think? Obviously, this is pure speculation. These are just my theories. I don't have any receipts except for the timeline that they have provided with us. I am just wondering how in the hell it's possible that they are there with Chris in December. That's the timeline. These are just my theories. What do you guys think? Leave me a comment. Leave me any questions. Let's talk about it. I love to get into it and talk about all the shenanigans of these theory videos. So please leave me a comment and we'll talk about it. Thanks so much for watching this video. Thanks so much for supporting this channel. And if you like this video, please leave me a like and subscribe. And if you can, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Every little bit helps. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back with more.